Hi, I'm Micah Clark with American Family Association again on our Friday video, giving you a legislative update real quickly for this week. A couple things I want to mention that were not in my Wednesday email. So it's good that you're reading the Wednesday emails and also checking out these videos. I hope they're helpful. I want to talk about three issues. Two of these I have not spoken about in my email. One of them, both of them, they were in the news, so they may not surprise you. But because the mainstream media is liberal, I wanted to talk about these from a more conservative perspective. First one is an issue. House Bill 1008 or 1008 has passed out of committee. It was in the Financial Institutions Committee. What this bill concerns, it's not an issue I deal with a lot at AFA, but I know it's one that's of concern to our readers and to folks out there, especially if you listen to talk radio a lot. This is an issue that's been talked about for well over a year. A lot of people say, well, why can't Indiana be like Florida? We don't have Ron DeSantis as our governor. Enough said there. That's self-explanatory. But we do have legislators who are that mindset, who want to do good things and lead the way on certain issues. And this is one of those issues. This issue is called ESG, environmental, social, and governing entities or financial investments is what this concerns. ESG, if you've heard that term, is basically, as simply as I could put it, as my limited understanding of it is a woke left-wing scoring system to use the power of big business to make social changes that are frankly anti-capitalist, anti-freedom, anti-family. They are heavy on environmentalism, heavy on social justice. If you are disgusted by all the way our cultures are changing, a lot of that is funded by these ESG scores that these banks and companies are using to be virtue signalers and getting into things that frankly most people they think they shouldn't get into. And what 1008 says basically is the state shouldn't have any part of this when we're doing investments. Our state treasurer, our state as an institution, invests a lot of financial money into things like teacher retirement funds, other investment funds, just for the type of business that state government does. Billions of dollars are put into different funds through the treasurer's office in particular for investments and things that the state does. And what this bill says is the state's not going to invest in companies that do this ESG junk because it undermines our values as a state. It undermines Hoosiers. Hoosiers don't want this. There was a poll, and I mentioned this in my email this week, from Rasmussen Polling. I thought it was very interesting. Sometimes a poll shows the obvious, but it's so counter to what you see in our culture. A new Rasmussen poll finds that only 9%, less than just barely 1 in 10 Americans, think companies should focus on causes like diversity and environmentalism and social justice. 82% think they should focus on other issues that businesses should focus on. For example, 7 out of 10 take a breath. Think that companies should focus on providing quality goods and services. I mean, what a novel idea! People want companies to build products and have services that they want as consumers. They don't want companies diverging in all this other woke left-wing virtue signaling, which is what they're doing. You see all these commercials about all these things these companies are doing that often conflict with at least half of America's values if you look at voting patterns. But they don't want companies doing left-wing causes. They want companies doing products and services that the consumers want. So House Bill 1008 has passed out of committee. This coming week, it'll be on the House floor. It'll be debated for amendments, and then maybe later this week or this coming week or the week after, they will vote on House Bill 1008 to prevent the state from investing in companies using ESG scores and ESG qualifications. The state should be concerned on making a good return on its investment, not investing money to make social changes. And so that's House Bill 1008. I would encourage you to call your state representative, ask them to support 1008. It may not surprise you. Chamber of Commerce does not like this bill. Chamber of Commerce is woke. It's the fact. Not every member of the Chamber of Commerce is that way, especially your local chambers. but the statewide, the big chamber in Indianapolis and state, they don't like this bill. They want this social justice junk and this social engineering through the power of government. We saw that with RFRA, with the abortion bill. These companies like to weigh in on things. Most people want companies to stay out of politics and just build goods and services for us to buy. So that's House Bill 1008. Please call your state representative at 317-232-9600. If this is an interest of concern to you, call them and ask them to support 1008. The next bill is now on the front page of the Indianapolis Star website. We had a hearing this week on a bill that shouldn't be that big of a deal, but the homosexual activists hate this and the far left hate this because they're opposed to free speech. And this is Senate Bill 350. Senate Bill 350 simply says that a local city council or municipality cannot pass an ordinance limiting free speech of counselors and pastors and churches. That's how far down this road of totalitarianism we are going. It's coming at us, folks. If you are a Christian, if you have views that go against the culture, the left wants to silence you. Tolerance is a joke. Tolerance is a one-way street. You think like us or we won't tolerate you. And West Lafayette passed an ordinance that went after a church for doing counseling and dealing with issues of human sexuality, homosexuality that the county council didn't like and the liberals didn't like. So they tried to pass something called a ban on conversion therapy. Conversion therapy is a slur. It's an attack on Christian counseling. It draws up pictures of electroshock therapy. It's not that at all. It's simply talking to people in counseling who come there by their own choice, voluntarily. They seek out a pastor or a Christian counseling service because they have concerns about human sexuality issues, and the left does not like that because they want you to promote the LGBT agenda or whatever it may be. They don't like people with a Christian worldview talking about what the Bible or what traditional values say about human sexuality. They have proven so effective to the happiness of people for centuries or thousands of years. And they want to shut us down. And that city passed an ordinance, came this close to passing an ordinance. If it wasn't for people standing up, it would have passed, it would have shut down the counseling center or limited the counseling center at a church called Faith, a massive church in Lafayette. They were targeted for what they were doing, which was not harming anybody. It was allowing people to hear a different view than what the world does not like. So House Bill 350 says a city or county council cannot limit a licensed counselor or a pastor or a church from what it says to people about issues, not just human sexuality, but issues of life. The government should not limit free speech in that way. This is a free speech bill. The bill is stalled right now. It had a hearing. The vote may come back, it may not. We need to flip a couple votes. But this is a very important bill to send a message to cities and government. You're not going to silence people of faith. You're not going to silence pastors and churches about what they tell members of their congregation or people who come to them for moral and spiritual help. So Senate Bill 350 we thought it was a pretty simple bill. The left flipped out. It needs your support. Please call your senator at 317-232-9400. Ask them to support Senate Bill 350, a free speech bill for counselors and pastors. It's a shame we even have to have a bill like this, but they're coming after us, folks. They want to silence us. We need this bill, Senate Bill 350. So 332-317-232-9400 for the Senate. The last bill is House Bill 1407. I've mentioned this in my emails before. It's a parental rights bill. I'm not sure if it will get a hearing. It very well could. That's why I'd like for you to call on this one also. This bill simply says and reaffirms in state law that parents have the fundamental right to direct the upbringing and health care of their children. That should be an understanding. That should be a given. Children don't belong to the state. They don't belong to the schools. They don't belong to the government. They belong to parents. And parents should have a fundamental right, and this bill would recognize that, so courts would see that as well. that parents have a right to direct the upbringing of their children. So I would encourage you to call on that bill as well, House Bill 1407 at 317-232-9600 for the House, or 232-9400 for Senate Bill 350. Those are the three bills I want to talk about. If you don't know who your legislator is, that's okay. Go to the Indiana General Assembly website, look up the Find Your Legislator link. You can put your address in, and that will show you who your legislators are, how to call them directly, and email them as well. I encourage you to do both, phone calls and emails. We are about halfway through the first step of the legislative process. We're in the committee hearing process. That's going to go until about the end of the first week of March, March 3rd, maybe March 6th. They'll take a few days off that week of March 6th through the 10th, I think, is how it's looking right now. And then they will come back. Bills will have switched chambers. The bill numbers stay the same. All the live House bills will go to the Senate that have passed, and all the Senate passed bills will go to the House. So after that point, we'll be talking about Senate bills in the House, House bills in the Senate. I'll explain all that in the weeks ahead. But for now, call your state representative about House bills, and call your senators about Senate bills. The three bills I mentioned: House Bill 1008 concerning ESG, not funding ESG. Senate Bill 350 concerns free speech for pastors, churches, and counselors. And House Bill 1407 concerns parental rights. So thank you. I appreciate you joining us today, and appreciate you watching these videos. I'm always surprised at the comments we get, but I appreciate you reading our emails on Wednesday, because that has a lot more information, and then taking action on what you see here on the Friday video. Again, I'm Micah Clark with the American Family Association. Have a great weekend.